Hello, my name is Nadia. Welcome to the next episode of remoteworkadvocate.com. Today's subject is going to be a really practical one, and I think that one of the elements of my mission is to destroy unconscious bias about remote work. And how do we do that? We need to be prepared to be able to scale remote work as a business model or part of your business model. In order to do that, we obviously have to assess where we are. And that's the reason why I have myself prepared and performed numerous remote work audits. And today I'm willing to share some hints with you on how to even start what a remote work audit is, what a remote ready assessment is, because you can call it different ways. I know that some people don't really like the word audit. Some people say an assessment is more soft, but this is actually an all-in-one solution. So let's get it started. How do we start with remote work? And it doesn't really matter if you're willing to be a remote first company, if you're willing to be a hybrid company, or if you have this opportunity for your team, for your people to work from home. Two things in the beginning also, very much worth mentioning. If you are starting to build a remote company from scratch, it's done a different way, okay? Because you're scaling it a different way. And if you're trying to proceed with the transition process, then that's where a remote ready audit jumps in. So, based on my plan and my assessment, my preparations and my framework, there are 4 pillars, okay? So the first pillar is company culture and communication. I know that so many companies nowadays are really scared that if you transition from an office environment to a remote one, you're going to lose your company culture. This is not true. Some things may be different, some things may change, but it's not this way that things will get lost, right? If you perform it without thinking, okay, without preparing yourself properly, then you're going to lose it for sure. But the idea is to assess what we have in our company culture, what it is like, and then try to also proceed with a compatible solution for your remote team, okay? Another thing is communication, and I've stressed it so many times that communication is always the key to success everywhere. And I have to tell you that I myself fall into that trap quite often, because although some things seem clear for me, they're not really clear at all. So, and especially when you work with remote teams, you have to make sure that all your communication flows that you had in your company before are going to be adjusted this way that they're equal for both people that are on site and also for people who work remotely. That's one thing. Another matter is obviously the intercultural aspect, okay? So we deal with it in the first pillar, company culture and communication, because we may face something that is called intercultural communication. And trust me, I've worked with teams from Asia, from South America, and from the United States, and it's really not that obvious. And there is tons of things to discover, and you better be prepared up front rather than face unnecessary obstacles. So all your communication flows have to be very clear. It needs to be said who is reporting, so to say, to whom, and who is responsible for which area, what the objectives are, what the feedback is going to be, how even to be able to thrive in this environment, which path we should go, which direction, okay? And the less you communicate, the more people are starting to gossip because they don't know, and that creates chaos and destroys your company culture. So make sure that all this is super transparent, okay? Another element, so the second pillar, here we're talking about processes and procedures. And I know that when COVID started initially, we were not prepared at all, because for the most part, our processes and procedures on how we hire people, how we onboard people, how we perform appraisals, how we fire people, for example, how we do, again, feedback, how we do delegation, what the entire workflow is. This was not really ready, and this was not really adjusted. So here we have to make sure that we tackle every process separately and make sure that it's a scalable one, that it's going to be both great for our remote team and for our team on site. Or if we are going fully remote, what do we need to do? Which aspects here of the processes can we automate? How can we make them scalable? And what exactly needs to happen? This is really important to do this up front. If we leave it for later and we're just stuck in our daily operational performance, and there is a moment where the process jumps in, everything stops and we can't move on, so it slows us down. That's why it's really necessary to perform this up front. The third pillar are tools. So the toolkit. I know that many of you are probably going to say, we are experts in terms of tools because we've tested all the tools on the market during COVID. Yes and no. You probably tested them, but I say less is more. I've seen this, I observed this clearly, that so many people started saying, hey, to make remote work effective, you just implement tools and that's just gonna solve your problem. Tools solve everything. They don't. Do you really think that your people want to fill out tons of information in different tools that are not compatible? Do your people know how to use the tools to the full? I've worked with different companies and I see that there are really different tools that the entire team doesn't really know how to use properly. Plus, we try to download other tools that are not compatible. So our infrastructure is not really the way it's supposed to be, because you see, tools are here to make our lives easier, okay? So by downloading tools, the tools serve us. It's not us to serve the tools. And that's the reason why you really have to choose carefully. If you're going to ask me what my favorite tools are, of course, I have my preferences, but I'm not going to share them with you because those are my preferences and there is no one-size-fits-all idea here, because you have to choose the ones that fit your business needs, are compatible with your infrastructure as well, okay? That's the way it looks. So please remember that. And last but not least, it's obviously the legal matter and the IT aspect. IT aspect, and here I mean IT security. So I know that many companies are also rushing into remote without really thinking what happens if we're going to have a potential data leakage. I know that even before COVID, I spoke with many companies from the banking sector, and they were the most reluctant towards remote work because of the amount of sensitive data, which is obvious. But they have tackled that problem, which you can really see online, reading all those amazing articles, how huge banking corporations have transitioned to remote work, and they're also willing to implement it in their working models, which is really great. That means it can be tackled, but please make sure that you're going to discuss this with your IT team, with your security team as well, because data leakage is number one, okay? There are tons of hackers, tons of online attacks, everything. So all the cyber crime world, whatever, is now absolutely thriving. As is remote work, that area is thriving as well, okay? It's an amazing opportunity to breach all the security. So make sure you have that covered. And also how your people work, okay? If they're not accidentally, if you allow them to travel remote, to work remotely and travel, that, you know, they open emails using public Wi-Fi while traveling and being on different airports. That's maybe obvious if you're listening to this, but I guarantee you it's not that obvious, because I've been there and done that and spoke to people who really had no idea about it. So make sure that you tackle this entire area. And also the legal matter, of course. So here it really depends. It depends if you are willing to become a hybrid environment. It depends if you're willing to have this so-called home office solution, work from home solution every once in a while, or you want to have a remote team that works from all around the world. Remember, contracts are important, and health and safety is important too. So every country has a different legal system, and not every country has solutions that are compatible with remote work, because it just happened too fast. Well, maybe I think we could have predicted it, okay? But we are never ready, okay? So, and the legal system was not ready either. But anyways, there are possibilities to be able to ensure that remote work, or working from home at least, is incorporated in your legal aspect in your company as well. And you definitely can do that. And another matter is how you hire remote workers from all around the world. Many companies do it this way, that they hire them as contractors, which is a quite controversial deal here. I'm not willing to criticize it because it is a solution to many, and I've experienced this a lot. But then on the other hand, we're starting to have more and more different companies on the market that implement different solutions and actually hire remote workers based on payrolls in certain countries. And that's possible too. And there are definitely entities today that are willing to assess with all this. So so remember, 4 pillars. Again, look at it as a model, as a scalable model. Don't stop, because implementing remote work to the full, you can only succeed if you proceed to the full, okay? It's going to be difficult, but it's worth it, okay? So approach it wisely. So the 4 pillars that we have that you absolutely need to take into account when implementing remote work, no matter in what kind of model. It's obviously company culture and communication, processes and procedures, tools, the IT and legal aspect. Okay, here we have 4. Remember, if you have any questions, if you're willing to find out how it's done, I strongly encourage you to read my articles on my website, remoteworkadvocate.com, and keep watching other videos that also provide tons of hints about this topic. And if you're still not satisfied, you're willing to know more, don't hesitate and contact me, because I love to chat every once in a while and I love sharing information. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks.